Young people in this country are almost inoculated with it from birth.
Innovative, bold, elegant, a little bit traditional.
It's America's pastime. It ties into everything that, it's mom, baseball, apple pie.
My name is Linda Peak Schacht. I'm Mike Schacht's widow, and happily the keeper of the flame of the wonderful art that he did throughout his life. Mike was always creating, even when he was a corporate executive, but the turning point for him came around the time that he was 50 years old. He picked up a Sports Illustrated magazine and started sketching from it and decided, I kind of like this. So he immediately turned all of his creative attention to the baseball genre, particularly to the heroes and legends of his childhood.
Very few people probably realize how important Mike's work it was to this whole history of baseball. Anybody, and especially people with younger children that are interested in baseball, it gives them the opportunity to learn something about where baseball came from. It was a very new venture for us, but I think so far it's working. It's bringing in more people. Where our attendance in June is up 45% over last year. Mike Schacht's work is a very important part of that.
We have people who walk in and the first thing out of their mouth is baseball show. Where's the baseball show? And we just send them up here. And then you have people who walk in who don't know that there's a baseball show and walk up and they're like, oh, I really like that. That was really cool. I think one of the best pieces is the October 3rd, 1951 piece, which was, I believe, Robinson standing in the outfield. It's just the back of him. They're not going to be in the World Series. The other team is celebrating. His season is over. And all it is the back of him with his head down. That says everything. It just sort of says, this is the emotion of baseball and what's so great about it.
Mike liked to paint players early in their careers or at crucial moments in their careers and in baseball's history. This may be my favorite painting of Pete Rose, not only because it's in the grayscale that Mike loves so much, but again because there's so little information and yet we immediately know that it's Pete in crouch.
This is a very emotional show, I think, because he did take the black and white stills, he took the black and white films. We are going to recognize what we see, and baseball has a really interesting underlying current in just about everyone.
One reason that he painted in the grayscale for this particular series of baseball's classic moments is that that's the way he remembered those moments from watching baseball on a black and white TV in the 1940s and 50s. This exhibit includes such things as his Silhouette series, one of the first things that he did, and a series that was the inspiration for the backdrop to Major League Baseball's offices as you walk into their reception area in New York.
With his baseball card stuff, I mean, a lot of kids certainly, I can't remember growing up and kids trading baseball cards. I mean, that was a big thing. Like some of these pictures of Williams and Ruth and so on portray just what they look like. Some of his homage work, I think, is really neat because it says something about the player and what they did and what their history was and so on. And I think that's what makes the exhibit much more interesting than just a group of portraits.
Whenever I heard Mike chuckle down in his studio, I knew that he'd come up with a new baseball homage, an homage to Artwell Masters. And he couldn't wait to show whoever was in the studio at that point the idea that he had come up with to help educate people about Artwell Masters at the same time that he engaged them through baseball.
And then you get into the fact that he did the homages to the other modern artists, which I knew it was going to be a baseball show. I knew we were going to have players. But to walk in and see him do the Bathing Beauty of Roy Lichtenstein and just throw a baseball glove on it, I thought was brilliant.
Not only do we have the portraits, the homage series, the silk screens, and the baseball cards, but we also have the art of Fan magazine. Fan was Mike's baby, labor of love. He refused to use a computer to do it, even when computers were available. He did it all the layout by hand. In every issue was a portfolio of another artist's work. And so what we had in Fan magazine was a virtual who's who of illustrators and artists during the time that Mike was alive and could persuade them to do these things. One of the things we're most pleased about are the sketches that Mike made in the year before he died for a mural of the first induction of the Hall of Fame. Because these are just his sketches, they show a window into the way that he worked, while at the same time being beautiful in their sepia tones and capturing these players later in life.
I love the colors that he put in it. I love the fact that they're bigger than life in a lot of instances, as I stand next to giant Stan Musial. And you just remember it. You'll remember the feeling, you'll remember rooting for these people. And I think when I started hanging the show, that's the first thing I said is, people are gonna walk out of here happy.